Hello guys, and welcome to another edition of this F1 2014 100% race career. This is the start of the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. I am going to spare you the gory details of the qualifying session that took place in monsoon-like conditions. And as a result of just that, we did not get a very decent starting position on the grid. We only managed to start in 9th position there, so we're gonna have to work our way up the field here on the opening laps. Skipping ahead to lap 2 here, we're into P4, right behind the two Red Bulls there of Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo, who are currently chasing Lewis Hamilton, who is out in front, leading the race so far. Skipping ahead to lap 4 here, the two Red Bulls get a little tangled up as Sebastian Vettel tries to go down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, and he ends up losing his spot as we are currently running in P3 here behind Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton. So all things considered, starting out 9th on the grid and being into P3 this early in the race is definitely positive and is way beyond what we expected from this race. However, during the 2 seasons that have been posted online already, we've been blessed with some very good fortune and have been able to finish every single race except for one, which was the Season 1 finale at Abu Dhabi, where some of you might remember we crashed out on the very final lap. Here, coming through the right-hander, running wide just a little bit, that is enough to clip our front wing. We get tangled up in the gravel bed, skidding across the track here, get T-boned by Sebastian Vettel and rear-ended by Nico Rosberg, and all 3 cars are out of the race here at Suzuka. And to make matters worse, Lewis Hamilton goes on to win the race here and is able to close the gap on us in the Drivers' Championship by a hefty 25 points, making the remainder of the season here all the more interesting, something I could definitely have done without. Anyway, skipping right ahead here to Sochi, we are getting ready for the Russian Grand Prix, but as you can see there, our weather goblins seem to be following us wherever we go at this point, as we are getting ready for a Q1 session in some very, very wet conditions once again. This is our first lap in Q1 here, and as you can see, there is a ton of standing water already on the track, as these are, again, monsoon-like conditions here. There is not much grip at all. Currently, Alonso with the best time so far, 150.5 basically, which is less than impressive by any standards. And all we are going to be doing here is doing our darndest just to get into Q2 and hopefully have the track clear up a little bit during the afternoon here, giving us a chance to put in a decent time rather than what happened at Suzuka, where we had to qualify through monsoon conditions for the entire qualifying session. At any rate, as we had hoped, we do manage to squeeze our way into Q2 here without too much hassle, really, in 6th position. And jumping straight into Q2, this is going to be our first lap. As you can see, the track conditions have not improved. In fact, they may even have worsened a bit, as our best time here is about 1.5 seconds down on our Q1 time. Fastest man of Q2, Daniil Kvyat, a very impressive time. We squeeze into the shootout here in 2nd, chased down by Lewis Hamilton in 3rd. And I have to say that just being in the shootout in weather conditions such as these is something to be happy about. Jump into Q3 here. It's an entirely different story. As you can see, the track has dried up completely, and we are out on the option tire for the first time today. We are currently running in second position behind Nico Rosberg, who is very fast during this qualifying session here. We're going to have another go just to see if we can't squeeze into pole here, but it's not going to happen as we are over a second down on our best time here. Anyway, we start second tomorrow on the grid. Lewis Hamilton is in third, and Nico Rosberg starting on pole. And just running over the pit strategy here, as you can see, for once there is no chance of rain during the race, so we are going to be making this a two-stop race, starting on the option tire, switching to the primes for the middle stint, and ending out the race here on the option tire once again. Just in case we need that little extra pace here on the dying laps, I prefer to go on the option tire for the final stint. I figure if we have to park the bus at some point on the primes, it's probably better to do it during the middle stint, as we are likely to be running a little closer to each other at that particular point. So anyway, here we are waiting for the 5 lights to go out. Kind of sort of like the meat in the Mercedes sandwich here. We have Rosberg right ahead of us to our left. Lewis Hamilton right behind us also to our left here, and we get off the grid in a fairly decent fashion here. We get a pretty good start. We have the inside line here coming out of turn 1, almost neck and neck with Rosberg. There's contact between the wheels there, but we managed to squeeze into P1 here as we come into the turns 2 and 3. Actually cutting the corner there on turn 3 a little bit, but it appears someone might have gotten tangled up there behind us in the chicane, because we have a huge lead here as we go through this sweeping left-hander, which is turn 4. And looking at the mini-map there, we have a pretty nice gap down to Nico Rosberg, who is about 2.5 seconds down on us already. Sebastian Vettel is running in third right ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And I'm not sure who is in 4th position at this time, but I reckon the longer that Vettel is able to keep Hamilton behind him, the better it is for us. Jumping right ahead to lap 3 here, we are still in P1, being chased by Nico Rosberg, who is about 1.5 seconds down. Lewis Hamilton is about 4.5 seconds down on Rosberg, meaning we are opening up a nice gap down to Hamilton. Even though he has passed Sebastian Vettel and is currently in 3rd position, we are about 6 seconds up on him, which is very positive indeed. And just as we come to the end here off the back straight, this is the part of the track where the AI just seems to have the upper hand on us, and there's not really that much that we can do to match him. As you can see, Rosberg is easily closing the gap on us here. However, as we come through this particular turn and the remaining turns up until the finish line, this is where we actually pull away again from the AI. So I guess all things considered, these final 6 or 7 turns on this particular track, it kind of evens out, but it's a little bit strange that we seem to be losing about a second during the first 2 or 3 turns after the back straight, and then in the final 2 or 3 turns of the lap itself, we seem to be taking back that second. So go figure. And skipping right ahead to lap 6 here, the situation remains the same as we are kind of deadlocked here within that 2 second, 1.5 gap, with Rosberg chasing us and basically matching us turn for turn there. Good news is, however, that Lewis Hamilton keeps falling back here and is about 7 seconds down on us at this point. And skipping again right ahead to lap 9 here, the situation remains unchanged as of yet. However, Hamilton again keeps falling back compared to his teammate there, as he's about 9 seconds down on Rosberg at the moment, meaning he's about 10 or 11 seconds down on us. Jumping to lap 15 here, Rosberg is starting to close the gap on us ever so slightly here, as he is within DRS range at this point, and it would appear that he might have been saving a little bit of fuel here on the first stint, and is now dialing the engine back up into rich mode, or at the very least standard mode, because he's catching us at this moment. However, Hamilton appears to be dropping back further, and there's just no end in sight for this, it would seem, as he is now 14 seconds down on us. And coming down the DRS straight here, as you can see, Rosberg has full DRS. He goes down the inside of us here. We go for the switch over here, getting the move done, and Rosberg is unable to recover and goes right ahead into the barrier. And on lap 15, Nico Rosberg appears to be out of the race. And as we skip to lap 16 here, we have a safety car situation here, and I'm not sure whether or not this is due to the fact that they are unable to get rid of the wreckage of Rosberg's car there or not, but no one else seems to have been leaving the race since he did, as we are still with 17 cars running. And this is bad news for us, obviously, as we go into pit here, because it means that Hamilton is going to be able to close that 15-second gap we had on him with no problems whatsoever here during the safety car period, and that is really annoying, I have to say. Lap 18 here, just as I mentioned, Lewis Hamilton is right on our rear wing at this point here, as the safety car is getting ready to go in and the race is restarting. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we still have the pace here, as we are on the prime tire for this middle stint, whether or not we're still going to be having the pace to pull away from Hamilton as we did on the first stint here. And obviously the first task here after the restart will be to break that magical 1 second barrier, getting Hamilton out of DRS range and giving us a chance to pull away one more time. Jumping right ahead to lap 25 here, we have managed to pull away in a fairly decent fashion so far, as we have a 3-second gap on Hamilton there. Now, obviously, this is in no way as dramatic as the first stint, where we seem to be taking a second per lap on him, but it appears that we are able to match speeds with Hamilton, and as long as we are on reasonably fresh tires here, we also seem to be having the power to pull away from him. And as we skip right ahead here to lap 29, the situation remains unchanged. We still have that 2.5 second gap down to Hamilton here, as we put the engine into rich mode for the straights at this point. We do not want to waste our fuel, otherwise we're going to be running out later in the race. Lap 33, it appears that Hamilton is now starting to close the gap on us, as our tires are starting to show some wear and tear here. And apparently that appears to be affecting us a whole lot more than it affects Hamilton. And that is bad news for us, as we still have about 6 or 7 laps to go before we are going to go in and make the switch to option tires here, as Hamilton has a half-hearted look down the inside of us here on the DRS straight. Pretty much the same spot where Rosberg passed us, and ended up putting himself into the barrier here as we took the position back. Jumping ahead to lap 38, we are coming in for our second and final stop of the race here, right ahead of Hamilton. We are going to be switching to a set of option tires, and hopefully that is going to help us keep him at bay for their final stint here. But look at what happens. We get held up in the pit as Hamilton passes us here, and I'm not sure how this could happen. We went into the pits at the exact same time here. I'm really not sure how his pit crew was able to get him out ahead of us here, and that is really bad news for us, because I have a nasty feeling he may be pulling away from us here on the final stint if we are unable to catch him really quick. And on lap 39 here, we are trying to keep up with Hamilton here, as he is really moving on certain sectors of the track. On this particular part of the track, it appears that we are able to match his pace and actually catch up to him a little bit here. But as we come through this particular turn here, in the next 3 or 4 turns as we are coming up on right now, this is the part of the track where Hamilton pulls away from us, unfortunately. Jumping ahead to lap 41, we are putting some serious hurt on our tires at this point in an effort to catch Hamilton here, and I figure our only chance of actually winning this race at this point here is to catch Hamilton and pass him while we are still on fresh tires, and then park the bus, keep him behind us for the remainder of the race as our tires start to go, and his probably doesn't. So that is what we are aiming for at this point here, and as you can see, we are closing the gap on him, which is what we like to do. The only problem is we need to be close enough to make a move down on one of the straights here, so I don't see how we're going to be passing him here in the twisty turny parts of the track where we can make that stick. I just don't see how we're going to be getting close enough to him. Jumping ahead to lap 42, Hamilton is still unable to pull away from us here, but also, crucially, we are unable to close the gap those final tenths of a second here that would give us the chance to use DRS on the straight. Obviously, as we come out on the straight here, we are going to be having DRS, but just look how quickly he gets that Mercedes into speed here. He just seems to be pulling away from us, and we don't get DRS until the point right here, and it's just too little too late, as we are not going to be close enough to make a move down the inside of him here coming into turn 2. And again, we close the gap to a point where we would be able to make a move, but not on this particular part of the track here. This is where we are able to match Hamilton, and this is where we're able to pull away from him if we were ahead of him. But as we come through this particular turn, that's where it stops, as the remainder of the track here is where we are going to be at a disadvantage, barring the I think it's the last 2 or 3 corners or something like that, because just look as to how he pulls away through these particular turns here, and we are unable to do anything about that. Jumping right ahead to lap 45, as I was talking about, our tires are now starting to go, and we are unable to match Hamilton here. We are just unable to lap as quickly as we did just 6 or 7 laps ago here. We were down into the 138s, and now we are back into the 139s, and Hamilton is just pulling away comfortably. As you can see here on lap 49, he has a gap of 4.5 seconds, and unless he puts himself into the wall here on the last 4 laps, he's going to run away with this Grand Prix here, and we are just going to have to concentrate on finishing second, as we have Sebastian Vettel in third here, 45 seconds behind us. And not surprisingly, Lewis Hamilton is going to take the Russian Grand Prix here. We are going to be finishing in second, and it appears that Sebastian Vettel is going to be rounding off the podium here in third. And I have to say that just passing the line here in second place, it's a bit of a letdown, really. I thought we had a very, very nice first stint there. We built up a nice gap down to Hamilton. I think we had about 15 seconds or so before that safety car period that just, in this particular case, kind of messed up the works for us there. Still, not everything was lost. We were still able to match Hamilton during the second stint. I'm just not sure why we got held up in the pit there, as we went in at the exact same time, and I cannot for the life of me imagine how his pit crew could have been that much faster than ours, given the scripting of the pit crews here in F1 2014. But nothing we can do about that now. Lewis Hamilton takes first place here. We finish in second. Nico Hülkenberg actually rounds off the podium there in third. So not really sure what happened to Vettel there, but he must have crashed out or retired with a mechanical issue on the very last lap there. So bad luck for him. But at any rate here, Drivers' Championship, we are still 18 points ahead of Hamilton. And given the fact that we were actually up by 50 points only 2 Grand Prix ago, I'm starting to feel a little nervous here. At any rate, guys, if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to this channel for more F1 2014 action. And I'll be seeing you soon enough. Bye-bye.